In the first part of Module 3, concepts of scaling was explained. In the second part, you will be studying regarding the subsystem design process. You will be studying how a subsystem is being designed, what are the different steps involved. When I say subsystem, it is a part of the larger system. Let us consider the example of the design of a 4-bit microprocessor. This 4-bit microprocessor is considered as a system. This 4-bit microprocessor will have many functional blocks involved. Each functional block we call it as a subsystem. Okay, so this is how the design is done. We are reducing the overall complexity. That means we are dividing the entire system into smaller systems, so that the design becomes simple and later on the sub designs are being interconnected. These are the general considerations in VLSI design. First one is the lower unit cost. Of course, this is one of the important parameter. Everybody prefers that the cost of the system has to be less. Then there will be a high demand. Higher reliability. Higher reliability means it has to perform the task it is intended to do. There should be less dependency between the subsystems. Then the power dissipation has to be less, the weight has to be less, and it has to occupy less space. Better performance. There are different parameters to measure the performance. One particular parameter is the power speed product. Enhanced repeatability. See, we know that it takes time to design and develop a structure. If the structures are repetitive, then the overall design time can be reduced. And we can also reduce the design and development time by using computer aided tools, the automated tools. These are the steps involved in the design process. Structured design, it begins with the concept of hierarchy. So whenever we consider a system design, this system will be first divided into subsystems, and then each of the subsystem will be designed in detail. Then the connection should be established between the subsystem. This approach is called as top to down approach. Coupling is used to measure how much submodules interact. There should be minimum interaction between the subsystems. Concurrency should be exploited. That means all the subsystems should be functional for majority of the time. And whenever there is a change in the technology, the subsystem should adapt to that in a very short duration of time. This is a system. Okay, this system is an example of a 4-bit microprocessor. So this microprocessor, it consists of various functional blocks. That is, you have memory block, ALU block, control block, and input output block. This input block is used to receive the input data, and output block is used to give the output after performing the operation. And the control block, it controls all the operations. These are the different buses available. That is, address bus for sending the addresses, data bus that is used for sending the data, and control bus is used for sending the control signals. And there is an ALU and register. This ALU is used for performing all arithmetic and logical operations. and for long term storage of data, memory is used. So this becomes the entire system where we will be focusing on the design of an ALU or the data path. This is how communication between the subunits is designed. You have a control input to decide whether the input has to be received or the output has to be given. So you have data in and data out buses, and this ALU is used for carrying out several arithmetic and logical operations. It will have registers for temporary storage of data, and it has got a shifter to shift the data. This is the functional block of a data path. This data path consists of an ALU, registers, and other additional blocks such as shifter and input-output port. Register is used for temporary storage of data. Let us look into the different ways in which the data path can be designed. Here in the block diagram, you find ALU, shifter and registers. These registers are used for temporary storage of data. ALU is used for performing all arithmetic and logical operations. Shifter is used to perform shift operation, that may be either left shift or right shift. Let us consider an example where the two operands A and B should be added. Let us see how the task is being performed. For the first clock pulse, the first operand A will be fetched into the ALU. For the next clock pulse, the next operand B will be fetched into the ALU and it will be added with the contents of A register. And for the third clock pulse, the bits will be shifted and it will be stored in the registers. So here in one bus architecture, to fetch the data, perform the operation and store the result requires 3 clock pulses. This is another design, 2 bus architecture, where we find 2 buses, that is bus A and bus B. Let me consider the same example of fetching, adding and storing the result. As there are 2 buses connected to ALU, simultaneously data from A and data from B can be fetched and it can be added in a single clock pulse. For the next clock pulse, the bits are shifted and it is stored in the register. So for the same example, we can say in one bus architecture, we need 3 clock pulses to carry out the desired task, whereas in 2 bus architecture, just 2 clock pulses are sufficient to perform the same operation. This is a 3 bus architecture. The functional blocks are the same. You have registers, ALU and shifter, but the difference is in the number of buses that are being used. Here you can find there are 3 buses. So what happens is that for the same example, that is fetching, adding and storing the result, here everything is carried out in a single clock pulse. The reason is that you have 3 buses. So for a single clock pulses, the operands A and B, they are fetched, added, the result is shifted and it is stored in the register. This is the tentative flow plan for the 4-bit data path. Here this makes use of two bus architecture, that is bus 1 and bus 2. You have registers ALU and shifter to carry out the various tasks, and you have input and output module to receive the input and to give out the output. Let us look into the design of a switch, a shifter. Here shifter is designed using 4 cross 4 crossbar switch. Here these 4 vertical lines represents the input lines, and these 4 horizontal lines represents the output lines. The inputs are labeled as IN0, IN1, IN2 and IN3, and output is labeled as OUT0, OUT1, OUT2 and OUT3. Here totally 16 NMOS switches are used, and the switches are labeled as SW00, SW10, SW20, SW30. Okay, so on. Let us see how the NMOS works as a switch. When a logic high signal is given to the gate, this NMOS is turned on, and whatever is there in the input line, that is made available across the output line. Let me consider an example where SW00 is made 1. When SW00 is made 1, so here IN0, it is passed through the NMOS and it is made available in OUT0. Now let me consider an example where SW00, SW11, SW22 and SW33, all the 4 switches are turned on. Let us see what is the output we get. So as SW00 is turned on, IN0 is made available in OUT0. IN1 is made available in OUT1. IN2 is made available in OUT2. IN3 is made available in OUT3. Let me consider an example where the inputs in IN0, IN1, IN2 and IN3 are 1, 1, 0, 1 respectively. When these 4 switches, that is SW00, SW11, SW22 and SW33 are turned on, output will be same as the input, that is the output becomes 1, 1, 0, 0. So here no bits are shifted. Whatever is available at the input line, same is available at the output line. If we want to shift the bits by 1 bit position to the left, then the switches SW10, SW21, SW32 and SW03 should be turned on. So whatever is available in IN1, that is made available at OUT0, and whatever is made available in IN2, that is made available at OUT1. Whatever is available in IN3, that is made available at OUT2, and the bit available in IN0, that is made available in OUT3. Suppose the input bits are 1, 0, 1, 1, then the output bits will be 0, 1, 1, 1. This is how the bits are shifted by 1 bit position to the left. 1 bit position to the left shift is equivalent to shifting the bits by 3 bit position to the right side. If you want the bits should be if you want the bits to be shifted by 2 bits position to the left, then the switches SW20, SW31, SW02 and SW13 should be turned on. So the output will be IN2, IN3, IN0 and IN1 respectively. And if you want the bits to be shifted by 3-bit position to the left, then the switches SW30, SW01, SW12 and SW23 should be turned on. So the output will be IN3, IN0, IN1 and IN2. So here you can see, for the bits to be shifted to the left or to the right, then 4 switches should be turned on simultaneously. The problem with this design is, suppose all the switches are turned on, then it will be shorted. So care should be taken so that only 4 switches are turned on simultaneously. To overcome the problem of this crossbar switch, we have a barrel shifter. So here, instead of controlling 4 switches simultaneously, what is being done is, only one control input or a control switch is used. So here you can see, instead of having several control lines to the inputs, you have just 4 control lines, okay, and everything is interconnected, and you can see that at a time only one of the control line input, that is either S0 or S1 or S2 or S3 is turned on. Okay, now see here, S0 is connected in a diagonal way to the remaining transistors. So S0 is input is given to 4 switches. Similarly, S1 input is given to 4 gate inputs, and S2 is used to control 4 gate inputs, and S3 is used to control 4 gate inputs. So here in the previous case, 16 control input lines were used, whereas in this case just 4 control lines are used. So here S0, S1, S2, S3, it represents 4 control line inputs, and I0, I1, I2, I3, these are the 4 inputs, and Q0, Q1, Q2, Q3 are the 4 outputs. The operation is similar to that of the crossbar switch. Now, if we don't want any shift operation to be carried out, then if you want the output to be same as the input, then S0 should be turned on. When S0 is turned on, output Q0, Q1, Q2, Q3 will be same as I0, I1, I2, I3. Suppose we want the bits to be shifted by 1-bit position to the left or 3-bit position to the right, then switch S1 should be enabled. When switch S1 is enabled, 4 pass transistors will be turned on, and Q0, Q1, Q2, Q3 will be I1, I2, I3, I0 respectively. Similarly, if you want 2 bits to be shifted, then S2 should be turned on. Then Q0, Q1, Q2, Q3 will be I2, I3, I0, I1. Similarly, if you want the bits to be shifted by 3-bit position to the left, then S3 should be turned on. So Q0, Q1, Q2, Q3 will be equal to I3, I0, I1, I2. This is how shift operation is being controlled. You can go through the table here. So here it is given, left shift by 1-bit position is equal to right shift by 3-bit position. left shift by 2-bit position is equal to right shift by 2-bit position. Left shift by 3-bit position is equal to right shift by 1-bit position. So previously we were controlling 4 gate inputs simultaneously, whereas in this case at a time we will be controlling just one gate input. This is how barrel shifter overcomes the problem of the crossbar switch.